If I ever run out of things to shoot videos on shear sharpening about, I can always thank Henry. Henry sends me the best, perfect shears to show you some things that I know just from, 30 plus years of experience of sharpening that I ran into that you may not know. And these are some Yasaka shears, and they've got a couple of problems that you need to be aware of, and these have all the problems. So we're going to get to them. Yasakas used to be, when I first started sharpening, they were really, really popular, and I had people that really, really loved the shears. It's a Japanese shear with a really skinny beveled blade, and I'll show them to you. We're going to get into them. But I had a lot of customers with these shears, and they're still around. They sell for around $200. Back when I was sharpening them in the late 80s, early 90s, they were selling for $135. So I mean, they haven't increased that much. But it's a nice little shear. And even if it doesn't say Yasaka on it, which these actually don't, they'll always have this little weird logo. Do you see that little weird logo here? And it'll have some Japanese writing on the back, but they look like this. Now there's some knockoffs that look a lot like these, so don't get mixed up. But these are actually fairly good shears. Another interesting story about him is I used to have a gentleman that worked for me, and he had a list of shears that he would not sharpen. He hung them up on the wall. These are areas of Atlanta I won't travel to. These are areas I won't travel to in Atlanta on a Friday. And then he had a list of brands of shears that he wouldn't sharpen. At the time, I think he was wanting to get fired, and I just kind of refused to do it. But Misty's not as nice as me. But anyway, so he was an excellent sharpener. He was just picky, like people that don't like broccoli. Oh, it does say Yasaka on it. Here we go. It's on the handle. Do you see that? It says Yasaka there. It says Yasaka there on the handle. I think it's trying to focus in on my eyes, but so it does say Yasaka. So, and you might have to look a little bit to see this, but the problem with these, and this is why he didn't want to sharpen them, is that screw actually screws into like a plastic insert, so it doesn't stay well. The other problem is the screws that hold the handle. Can you see how loose that is? Look at that. If you can't fix that screw, don't sharpen them. So that's going to be the first thing we do. And then the other one is the bumper. If you work on shears at all, you'll know they'll either have a screw-in bumper or a pull-through, which you'll have a hole through and you pull the bumper through. This one has neither one. Let's get these down here on this surface. You can see what we're talking about. So Henry, I am so glad you sent these to me. Thank you, Henry. Yeah, these have a couple of different issues that we're looking at with them. So this one's tight, this one is loose. And then the bumper, you see someone has filed this down here because they knew that would be impossible to replace that bumper. It's not impossible, but it's close to impossible. You can buy Yasaka bumpers. They just come in like in a string, and you stick them down in there and glue them in and cut them off. But believe it or not, you can buy, if you get the right size, you can get the weed whacker thread, the replacement filaments, and that'll go in there. But this is an older Yasaka. The newer ones don't have the same issue. But you see they sanded this down to make the tips come together. The other thing I'm looking at, it's not a deep hollow grind. So if you work the rod line tends to come up on the other side. There's all kinds of crazy things that makes these Yasakas hard to sharpen. And this one looks like it's kind of a slightly beveled, that's been kind of convexed. So our first issue is to fix this screw. So let me get a little tiny, and this is why you have to have all kinds of different size screwdrivers, even Phillips head when you're working on shears. I don't know if this screwdriver is going to be small enough. I'm going to go ahead and take this all the way out and see if there's a washer in here. Yeah, there's supposed to be a washer. I don't see a washer. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. And I'm going to see if I can find a washer that small. So this is the tiniest washers I have. This is a 45-35 we sell. And I don't know if I've ever had a chance to use these. But I think that washer is going to fit. Yes, that fits. So I don't want this to come out again. Let's put a little super glue. I always have the hardest problems with these super glues. I always have to buy new ones because they dry up on me. Nail polish doesn't hold as well, but it doesn't dry up as bad. So it's kind of getting gooey on me though, isn't it? But I'm going to put a little nail polish there. So this goes on. This sort of slides on, I think. Oh, looky here. Never realized that was inside there. Like a little spacer. And the screw with the washer. And my screwdriver. And I want that pretty tight. Now here's the problem. It squeezed through here. And I don't want the shears to be glued together. Bonnie. Put a little oil in there. That should take care of that. Now you say, Bonnie, aren't you going to take these apart? No. For two reasons. Number one is it's not a deep hollow. So it does have a ride line. It should have a nice smooth edge along it, but I don't think I need to work that anymore. I think I'm going to leave that alone. Number one. And number two, this screw, once you take it out, it has to go in this little plastic threads, and you just run into all kinds of problems there. So I think the biggest problem with these was the handle was loose. But now that I've got the handle tight, let's cut with them and see how they cut. And you definitely can't bend the handles. They've almost trimmed this off too much because it overlaps a little bit. I'm trying to do the least possible to make these cut right. You're better off, when in doubt, to do the least than to overdo it. When in doubt, just because you can always take more metal off. You can always go back and do more. You can't, once you overdo it, you can't do less. So I'm cutting the wet tissue, and it doesn't cut there at the tip. You see that? If it had cut fine here and it cut hair, I probably would have just left them alone, but we're going to have to. We're going to have to, there's something there at the tip. So let's go to my Simek. I'm not going to need the screwdriver anymore. I want a flat plate. I turn my light on here so I can see what's going on. I want a flat plate. And my next choice is my grit. That's a Warren 400. I could start with that and then go down to something finer. These actually should be polished to the edge. But I'm going to use I'm going to set my angle at 45, which is what I think they're supposed to be. Remember back in the early days, someone gave me a Yasaka to sharpen. It was still in the box with all the literature, and it had the angles on it, what you should be sharpened at. And because it was the way the Japanese measure angles, which is the opposite of the way we measure angles, it had been way too blunt. So I'm trying to remember back then. I think they were at what would have been 50 degrees back then, maybe 55. But let's see what's on here. It's definitely been sharpened a few times. So I'm coloring in my edge with my Simek edge marker. I use that instead of the Sharpie because it rubs off. I mean, I can get it off easier than the Sharpie. So I'm coming in here, looking at that shadow. So I'm coming in parallel, got this fairly tight, and I'm just going to turn this with my hand. And that looks like it's at the edge, but it looks like I could do it at a 50, really. I think that's the factory settings on them, to be honest with you. I mean, these are nice little shears. They're nice and sharp. Let's see what 50 looks like. Try to be right on the money, not like a... Yeah, I can go with a 50. So I'm going to go on them fairly slow. I'm landing. I can do a slight rock to the back, to the front. I can also pull out, but if I pull out, I take it slow, and I don't take it all the way out. Got a burr all the way down. I don't have a burr way back here at the pivot. Now I may want to go to something finer, and I'm not taking it out of the clamp. Let's see, that was a 400. Let's see what I've got over here. This is a worn 1000. I'm looking to see if I got a burr all the way down and if it looks kind of shiny. Especially at the tip where it didn't cut. So I might be able to just do it with the worn 1000. Let's just flip it over and go with that, rather than going down to that worn 400. Got a tiny burr all the way down, but I'd like a bigger burr than that. Burr's too wimpy for me. This is just sandpaper and has to do with grit, so I'm going to go back to this 400. Back to the 1000. As I'm doing this, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do to the inside. I don't know if I want to just cut the burr off. I think I want to go to my arc home, which was this long, which I've broken. But I think I want to knock the burr off with this. Very gently. And that red marker, see, I can see if I've taken it off along the edge. And here's what I want to do. I think I want to go to something extra, extra fine. I don't know if I actually want to polish it or not. I guess I could. But I definitely don't want to be... Definitely want to back off and not be right along the edge. So I was at 50, I'm turning my clamp, so now I'm like at 52. And I have diamond spray on here, and then I have polishing compound. Not overdoing it. And that put back that little bit of a convexy look that it had before. Remember we talked about that? Even though I'm beveling it, it still has a kind of a convexy look. I'm going to clean it up before I cut. So if there's any grit on it, I'm not cutting through the grit. So my first cut, And I'm just cutting this double tissue. I'm actually cutting because I want to make sure that cuts all the way down if I've left any burr to it. Now I want to check the adjustment. A little bit on the tight side, but this is so light, let's leave it there. If I adjust it, that screw might not hold in the future. So let's see how it cuts wet. Remember, it didn't cut wet before. Cuts nice. Let's see if it cuts hair, because that stylus is not cutting wet tissue, they're cutting hair. So here's a little piece of hair. Nice crisp cut, no pulls. Let's see how it slides. So I'm going to call these done. Don't go to heroic efforts. Make them cut. I think the main problem was that handle wasn't on there tight, and I think Henry's customer is going to be very happy with these. I'm sending them back straight to his customer because that's what he's asked me to do. But I hope Henry watches this video and he can see what I've done. And I'm so pleased. I am so pleased that I got these shears to show you, because there's so many pitfalls when it comes to the Yasakas. Oh yeah, so many pitfalls. Hey, I'm Bonnie McGowan, and this is what I do. About every Monday, I'll be uploading a new video. So if you want to see them and catch them, make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you have any comments or suggestions of some videos you'd like to see, make sure you let me know. I answer all the comments. Now, if you're looking for the tools that I used in this video and the different things that I used, those should be in links below or on the product page, or if not, you should find them on my website, bonika.com. There's all kinds of things in the description below on how you can connect and contact me. So stay sharp. I'll see you in the next video.